Meet Emily. Emily has published a lot already. For the first time, she now needs to understand something about copyright. She knows that copyright control is important. She's vaguely aware it features in publishing contracts, but it's buried in so much legalese. Emily realises these contracts mean she can't just do whatever she wants, even with her own work.
I know I don't look at my publishing contracts as closely as I should. There's always too much small print and not enough time.
Now funders in her university are talking about rights retention and licensing. She feels she needs to give copyright more attention.
I feel like I need to get right back to basics. Who owns copyright in the first place? What can they do with it? And why is everybody getting so interested in rights?
So according to UK law, employers own the copyright of the work that you produce as an employee within their university. However, universities tend to defer this copyright to you as the author. When you start to negotiate with a publisher about copyright, what they will ask you to do is sign some kind of agreement. The publisher will want to gain some or all of the control over that copyright. So why do they want control over the copyright? So the things that they need to do is to publish the work and disseminate your findings. But to do that, they want to make some kind of economic profit. So fundamentally, it's the basis of their business model as publishers to create some kind of economic margin from publishing your work and disseminating it.
So, if I control copyright initially, it's my choice how the content can be reused. Publishers can only take control if I grant that to them. Do I have to? Are there any alternatives? Does licensing come into it?
Your publisher can control the copyright, but only if you grant the publisher the control in the form of a contract. And if the funder stipulates certain terms and conditions in the award of the grant, normally around open access, for example, then this can constrain your choices as the academic. There are two options for granting rights. There is assign and there is license. And generally, the publishers tend to pick a default option, which they've always used. Assigning means you transfer ownership to a third party. Licensing means you give permission to the third party to do things around copyrighted content, such as disseminate it to particular audiences. Now, this can be exclusive licensing, where they have full control, or it can be partial licensing, where they have some control, leaving the door open for you to do further deals with other partners at some point in the future. A publisher needs some sort of license to be able to publish your work. And we as researchers don't have to accept anything that the publisher proposes. Normally we do, and we don't tend to negotiate. But whether we negotiate or we don't negotiate, we need to have a decent understanding of copyright. And likewise, the publisher does not have to accept anything which the academic proposes. Ultimately, though, the publisher is the one who chooses whether or not to accept our work to be published in their particular journal, which may be your primary choice of publication. If the funder has stipulated some sort of requirements around open access, and if the publisher is unwilling or unable to meet those requirements, that can put the academic in a slightly tricky position. And ultimately, the academic will have to find a different outlet for their publication.
Emily knows that her funder requires open access. She needs to know how she can best meet this condition of her grant. Her funder specifies that her new article must be made available under something called a CC BY license. But to publish through the journal with this license would cost £5,000. Emily is shocked by the price and confused about the license.
Copyright is key to opening up your research findings. The copyright holder dictates what can and can't be done with the work. Research funders increasingly require your work to be openly available from the date of publication, and this increases its visibility and its impact. A licence is the mechanism for opening up your work. Creative Commons are a pool of licences that allow you to set transparent and uniform terms for using your work. The most commonly used in this situation is a Creative Commons attribution or CC BY licence. CC BY licence allows others to distribute and reuse your work as long as they give you credit as the creator. Most publishers will allow you to use a CC BY licence and set it on the final published version of your work, but they can and often do charge a fee.
I feel like I'm being pulled in two different directions. I can't afford the open access costs, but my funder requirements are rigid. If I own copyright, why don't I have more power? Surely there's a way to balance my obligations, but still let me publish where I want to.
One solution is rights retention, where the author retains control of their copyright. The benefit of this is that they can then publish the peer-reviewed manuscript immediately, open access and at zero cost. The author can then reuse their own work, use it in their teaching, upload it on their website, put it on different repositories online, and do anything they want with it, really. Rights retention is underpinned by notification to the publisher that you're going to do it. That takes two forms. One is that your funder or university will have already contacted the publishers to tell them that all their authors are going to use rights retention. Universities need to notify the publishers in advance that all their authors are going to use that route. You should also, as the author, notify the journal in your cover letter and in the acknowledgements or funding section of your manuscript when it's submitted. Authors just need to be careful not to sign a publishing agreement with the journal that undermines their copyright control through rights retention. It can be tricky to know which journals are going to have a problem with rights retention, so it's good to speak to your library team to see if you're likely to run into any trouble with the journal you have in mind before you submit your article.
That's great. I feel like I understand much better about copyright. I'm off to talk to the library to see whether rights retention will work for me.